Welcome to the Resource Allocation Decision Tool, part 2 of the module where we are looking at an unchanged budget. We've now fast forwarded from part 1 of this walkthrough and are now at the stage where we have downloaded the final report, or we've come to the page where we can download the final report. On this page, you can see the hyperlink at the top that says click here to download the report in Word format. We'll do that in a second. But first I'll take you on a bit of a tour down the final report to describe each of the different sections that you'll be presented with. Beginning at the top of the final report is a brief overview of the ReAD-iT and a description of why this information is important. Then you'll see sections written in blue. These sections written in blue are intended to be used as suggested subheadings that you can add information to. So first you'll see that the report was prepared by, and you can add your names, prepared for, so who the target audience is, and endorsed by, if this is a decision paper that has been endorsed by a decision-making body. You'll see the date at the bottom of the screen here. Before we get to the first of the orange highlighted subheadings. So the first subheading is an executive summary. And again, we've provided suggested subheadings that you can use. These are subheadings that we've found from discussing with several health services what types of information they require in their reports that they send to board or to executive team members. After the background, you'll see that we have a subheading for the recommendation to describe exactly what your recommendation is or what your decision is, and provide a description of the anticipated benefit. Then we return back to the black text, which is auto-populated as a part of this report, describing all the different domains that we've considered and how we've classified the domains using a red, orange, green traffic light system. A green domain supports transition from the existing service to the proposed service. A red domain does not support that transition, and an orange domain is unclear, or there is uncertainty whether that transition should take place. So then we come to the decision graph. The decision graph has a colourful summary of the information that's been provided when completing the ReAD-iT. Here in this example, we've seen that there's potentially issues with funding or contractual issues with the Falls Clinic being in the stronger region and having 12 months to wait, although we did identify that there was a mitigation strategy available for that. The next set of bars, we see the percentage of critical stakeholders who are in favour of the change and the percentage of critical stakeholders who are not in favour of the proposed change. See, a small green bar indicates a smaller percentage of critical stakeholders in favour of the change, and a larger red bar indicates more critical stakeholders who are not in favour of the change. Then we come to a couple of orange bars which indicate either uncertainty or potentially equivalence, as was the case in this example, as to whether the proposed option was going to be more effective when provided in ideal circumstances, and also the level of certainty in this judgment. When we see effectiveness in real life, does it work in real life, we could see a big green bar in favour of the proposed intervention, moving the Falls Clinic to the Frauto region. We can go down and see all these other domain areas and all the coloured bars. If we reduce the font size of this particular window, those bars will hopefully get a bit closer to each other. Here we go, just reduce that font size, and it actually becomes a lot easier to see the colourful graphs here. So that's spacing in the graph is just a function of the amount of zoom we have in the web browser that we're currently operating with. That big red bar there was a question that we answered about workforce. There'd potentially be some workforce issues, the staff in Strongo potentially not wanting to move to the Frauto region and potentially losing those staff members. So that was one big red bar out of most of these questions in the later parts of the ReAD-iT. But the rest of them look pretty green. So you can see down the bottom here that the scale indicates that the more you go off in this red direction, it favours the existing option, so not changing, whereas over towards the green side, it favours the proposed option. So the more green and the further to the side it is, the more it favours that proposed option, and conversely this direction to favour the existing option with the red. At the bottom of this chart we see a key for the bar colour, green favouring the support of the proposed option, yellow being uncertain and red favouring the existing option, and the bar length, where the longer the bar length the stronger the support. Then we have a series of questions that we're asked to answer, asking people to describe what the most influential decisions were, what their key assumptions were, and the sorts of domains that were considered in coming to this decision. You'll notice that some of the formatting isn't quite right. We've got two full stops, I should say, at the end of some of these sentences. This is why we have the Microsoft Word format download. So we'll go back up to that now, and we'll click on the download of that Word report. So this is again to allow you to go in and make direct edits to the formatting in the text of the final report for the resource allocation decision tool. There is also an interim report that you can download to look at all the information you've put in before you make a final decision, and you can also download a Word version of that report. So here we have the graph again, we have all the different domains now. So I'll just increase the size of that so we can see what's going on here. So after the first bit of text, we now have a summary of each domain and an explanation as to why each domain was classified as the colour that it was. So readiness resourcing, back from our graph, was red because there are likely adverse resourcing issues that may arise from the proposed change. And again, that was related to the contract for providing the falls clinic at Strongo. If we look at another one, impact, effectiveness in ideal circumstances, is orange because either the existing or proposed options are likely to be of comparable benefit and there is insufficient external evidence to support one being superior to the other. So again, in this particular example we had the exact same intervention being provided in two different locations. So if we wanted to, we could go in and change that text in the Word format. So we put the cursor here, delete a bit of text, and instead say, because we were seeking to change the location of the same service. So you can go through and make edits as you require. Again, the text that we have provided auto-populates and is likely to be the most appropriate text in 90% of cases, but sometimes you'll need to just go in and modify some of the text that we've provided. Here's another one. Impact access is green because transitioning to the proposed option is likely to lead to an improvement in broader service access, affordability for consumers, or equitable delivery of services with no anticipated adverse impacts in these areas. So again, there were three questions that contributed to that overall domain, and because of the combination of answers given for that overall domain, it was given a green light there. So as we come to the end of this section, we come to a risk analysis and contingency planning table. The risks that you will have entered while completing this particular module of the ReAD-iT have auto-populated this table, along with the mitigation strategies that you've put in place. So here we have that first risk related to the contract. We still have 6 months to run on a clinic room lease agreement with the Strongo Exercise Emporium, where we currently run the Falls Clinic, and the mitigation strategy, just being able to wait for 6 months before making the transition in location. So all of these will have auto-populated. This is different for this particular module of the ReAD-iT than modules 1 and 3. In modules 1 and 3 you'll need to fill those risks and mitigation strategy rows out yourself. But for module 2 it's able to auto-populate. Here are another couple of suggested headings that you might want to consider including in your report: alignment to strategic goals, other considerations, before we get to a conclusion. And then we have an appendix. So here we have the options that have been considered, and we come to how each question is responded to for each option, for each of the comparisons made. So here is a breakdown of each of the individual responses for each question. And again, we can go back through and edit these if we want. We don't have to include these, but we provide it for comprehensiveness so that you can keep a record of everything that you said and your responses for the ReAD-iT. Again, if some of the questions were not answered, as you'll find here, the extent of the problem, because the problem was exactly the same for the two options being considered, there were no further questions asked in that question, so you can just remove that particular subheading from this ReAD-iT report. Here we have all the other information, so here's our reference that we included earlier. Now, with generating this report, it's important to be using a PC. A Mac will not consistently produce this report, whereas a PC it will work very well with, and also using Google Chrome is the web browser that optimizes the functionality of the ReAD-iT, so if I can encourage you to use that. At the end of the report, we have all our stakeholder responses and we have a final little disclaimer, again expressing that this ReAD-iT is designed to assist decision makers to appropriately consider the broad range of factors that may influence a resource allocation decision. It doesn't tell you what decision to make, rather it helps you to gather and synthesize this information in order for you to make a great decision. And that is the end of the final report tour.